Sebastian Vettel Martinez, MMA Nit, here in Las Vegas with Frankie Sanez, who faces Urijah Faber at UFC 194. So, I mean, obviously, this has got to be, biggest fight ever, biggest name ever at the very least. How do you feel about, all the attention that garnishes?
I love it. This is kind of where I wanted to be. I figured, I'd eventually end up fighting Uriah at some point. Why not now? It just happens to be one of those guys that you got to beat if you want that title shot. So I'm happy to be here.
And one of the people you got past to get here was Stirvan Kakai, who, you beat by a split decision. It was a pretty close fight. At the end, when you stood there awaiting the decision, how confident were you that you had won?
I was pretty confident I won the fight. I think I did what I needed to do, as far as, when it was over, I was like, dude, I think I won that fight. In most fights I walk away, it's like, yeah, I think I, inflicted enough damage to get the W.
And obviously we're Swedish. He's based in Sweden, so I got to ask. He came into the UFC on short notice, and then came out with two close decision fights, and then he got cut, which I think it surprised a lot of people that he got cut after two very close performances. How do you feel about that? Because obviously, you're in it to win it, and it's not your fault. But being the guy that got him out of there, like, what did you think? Was that a fair decision?
On who? On who are we talking about? Oh, he's still in, right? Really? Dang, I thought he won. He won the fight before me, and he got cut. Dang, I didn't even know that. To be honest, but no, that's surprising. He's a tough competitor, man. I still find that hard to believe. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't even know what to say. You know what I mean? I thought he was, probably one of the toughest fighters I ever fought. Just as far as just being. He's tough, a tough dude, has a great stand-up. We watched video on him. I did not take that guy lightly one bit. I knew what he was capable of, and, it's a shame if he's not part of the UFC,
Well, yeah, your sentiments echo a lot of other people that it's a bit surprising. But, getting back to your coming fight, Urijah Faber, he's a guy who's been in so many wars, been in so many high-profile fights. He's, had so many championship bouts. How do you go about finding his weaknesses? Because, there's a lot of film, and he has had losses, but, he hasn't lost to just anyone.
Yeah. The good thing is there's a lot of video on him. You know what I mean? He's had a lot of fights. There's a lot to take from a lot of his fights. But he's just a tough dude. He's a competitor. He comes out, he pushes the pace, he comes in shape. It's going to be a fight every time you fight Uriah. And that's just what I prepared for.
And what would you say is the key to defeating him? Because obviously there's not a whole lot of people who do.
Just the grind, you know what I mean? I think a lot of guys get tired. I think he wears a lot of guys out just with his, his wrestling. His forward movement, and just he's going to push you into the fence. He's going to beat you on the ground. He's going to beat you up. He's going to wear you out, and I think that's the difference in a lot of his fights. And, fortunately, I'm the same kind of fighter, so, I like to push the pace. I like to, really turn it up in the third round. And, that's kind of, I think, going to be the difference in this fight.
One of the few fighters who did manage to tire him was Frankie Edgar. Have you been taking any sort of notes from that fight?
Yeah, I watched a lot of the Frankie Edgar fight, as I did a lot of his other fights. But, there's, Frankie Edgar is just a tough dude, tough competitor. I think he's going to get that belt again here at 145 here next year,
All right, well, final prediction. How do you see the fight going, and why should fans make sure to tune in for it? Because obviously there's so many fights this week.
Yeah. I think it's gonna be, it's gonna be fireworks. It's that free. It's gonna be on Fox Sports 1. So you get that last free one before you got to go to the pay-per-view. I think if you're interested in getting this fight, you need to tune in because there's gonna be some fireworks for sure.
I'm pretty sure you're right.